Good morning. Today's topic of discussion is Regulating Act of 1773. So let's discuss the background or reason of passing the Regulating Act 1773. The East India Company was incorporated for purpose mainly to trade and commerce in India. The original function of trading was slowly transformed into ruling one. Its subsequent political involvements and territorial gains created a new situation. There was gross corruption and malpractices of the senior officials of the company. The company was also facing a financial crisis at this time and had applied to the British government for a loan of £1 million. The chaotic situation brought about by the misgovernment of Bengal forced the British Parliament to inquire into the affairs of East India Company. The British Parliament found it necessary to regulate the activities of the company in India, and for this the Regulating Act of 1773 was passed. This was the first direct interference made by the British government in the affairs of India. Its purpose was to take a step towards removing the political powers from the hands of trading company. The causes of regulating act according to Sutherland are briefly stated as follows: corruption amongst the servants of the company, complicated administrative problems of the dual government. Then the public opinion was against the company gathered momentum in India. Then there was a lack of proper judicial administration. There was a lack of central authority to control and guide the affairs of the company. Then there was company's defeat in 1769 at the hands of Hyder Ali of Mysore was shock to some of the members of the British Parliament. Terrible famine in Bengal, which took heavy toll of its population. And the company applied for a loan of £1 million in 1772. So let's discuss the reasons for passing the Regulating Act 1773 in detail. Under the heading Corruption, Administrative Problems, Companies' Finances, and Other Calamities. So the first one was the East India Company suffered a great loss. It was in financial crisis because of the corruption among the company's servants. The servants of the company acquired huge fortunes while carrying company's activity in India. They acquired illegal gains and huge wealth on their return to England. Their luxurious ways of life in England attracted the attention of the ruling class and stimulated the public mind to believe that this was the product of their crimes and operations in India. After acquiring wealth in India, on their return to England, the company's servants contributed constituted themselves into a very formidable political power, that is very strong political power, and by purchasing seats in the parliament to meet their own political ends. The corruption had developed widely for which there was no remedy. Second reason was certain administrative problems also provided an opportunity to the British Parliament to intervene in the company's control in India. The system of dual government further created many problems. People became miserable against operation by both company and the Nawab. The dual form of administration was complex and drawing lot of complaints in India, in Bengal. According to this system, the company had Diwani rights which were obtained after the Battle of Buxar in Bengal, and the Nawab had Nizamat rights, that is criminal administration of justice, and political powers or rights were with Nizamat or with Nawab, as secured from the Mughal emperor. In reality, both powers were vested with the company. The farmers and the general population suffered as their improvement was neglected, and the company was only concerned with maximizing revenue. There was no proper judicial administration. The police oppressed instead of protecting. The revenue officials were tyrannical, tyrannical. Therefore, lot of oppression among the common masses of India. Lawlessness increased in Bengal. The third reason was there were separate presidencies in India, but no strong central authority to control and guide the affairs of the company. The fourth reason was the company was, in fact, running into heavy debt. Deteriorating financial condition of the company and its heavy debts was one of the reasons. It had to pay a large sum of money as attributes to the Mughal emperor in India, to the British government in England, and to the military establishment which it maintained, and many was that it fought. As we have discussed that the defeat of the company against Mysore's Hyder Ali in 1769 was shocked to the British Parliament, and this way its whole revenue was consumed. After that, two great calamities further worsened the company's position. In 1770, terrible famine in Bengal took place. People of Bengal was in pitiable condition at that time. It was really a paradox that while the company was facing great financial difficulties, its servants were becoming richer day by day. The company was declaring high dividends merely for the sake of its proprietors' benefit. At last, in 1772, the company was forced to apply to British government for a loan of £1 million to save it from ruin. The British Parliament got an opportunity to tighten its strong hold on the company's affairs. The House of Commons appointed two parliamentary committees, namely a select committee and a secret committee, to study in detail the financial position of the company and related matters, and to approve corruption from the administrative and judicial machinery of the company. The committees prepared and presented its reports. In March 1773, the company renewed an appeal for a loan, and subsequently in May, the House passed a resolution. Ultimately, two acts were passed by Parliament in 1773. The first act granted to the company a loan of pound 14 lakhs at the rate of 4% interest. The second and far more important was the Regulating Act 1773, which was introduced by Lord North on May 18, 1773, in the House of Commons as regulating bill. Its three main objects were: number one, to reform the constitution of the company; second, to reform the company's government in India; and to provide remedies against illegalities and operations committed by the servants of the company in India. The object of the company was to bring the management of the company under the control of British Parliament or British Crown. Accordingly, the Regulating Act changed the constitution of the company at home means at England, altered the structure of the Government of India, and provided for supervision of the company by a ministry. The bill was ultimately passed by majority of the House of Commons on June 10th, 1773, and subsequently by the House of Lords received the royal assent on the June 21st, 1773. So the Regulating Act of 17, passing of the Regulating Act 1773. Regulating Act of 1773 was of great constitutional importance as it was the first step taken by the British government to control and regulate the affairs of East India Company in India and also recognize the political and administrative functions of the company for the first time. It was passed by the British Parliament to control the territories of the East India Company, majorly in Bengal. This act was passed due to the misgovernment by the British East India government that introduced a situation of bankruptcy, and the British Parliament or government had to interfere with the affairs of the company. This act permitted. So let's discuss the provisions of the Regulating Act. This act permitted the company to retain its territorial possession in India but required to regulate the activities and functioning of the company. It did not take over power completely, and hence this act is called regulating. The Act also provided specific measures to set up a new administrative framework. The president of the company at Calcutta factory, who used to be the governor of Bengal, was made the Governor General of all the Indian territories of the company. The Act also provided for the appointment of Governor General along with four councillors in the presidency of Fort William, that is at Calcutta, jointly called the Governor General in Council. As per this, the Warren Hastings was appointed as the Governor General of the presidency of Calcutta. The governors in council at Madras and Bombay were brought under the control of Bengal, especially in matters of foreign policy. Next provision was the company's directors were elected for a period of 5 years, and one-fourth of them were to retire every year, and also they could not be re-elected. Next provision was the company's directors were directed to make public all correspondence on revenue, civil and military matters with Indian authorities before the British authorities. Another provision was for the administration of justice. The Act proposed the setting up of a Supreme Court at Calcutta. A Supreme Court of Judicature was established at Calcutta in 1774 with Sir Elijah Impey as the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Judges were to come from England. It had civil and criminal jurisdiction over the British subjects and not Indian natives. It also prohibited the servants of the company for engaging in any private trade or accepting presents or bribes from the natives. So these were the provisions of the Act. So let's discuss the drawbacks or defects of Regulating Act. The major defect of the Regulating Act of 1773 are stated as below. The Governor General had no veto power Another defect was it did not address the concerns of the Indian population who were paying revenue to the company. The third defect was it did not stop corruption among the company's officials. Number five, the parliamentary control that was sought in the activities of the company proved to be ineffective, as there was no mechanism to study the reports sent by the Governor General in Council. The Supreme Court's powers were not well defined. The Supreme Court also could not function smoothly as its jurisdiction and its relations with the Council were not defined clearly, or it was not clear. The defect of the Regulating Act became clear very soon. There were constant quarrels between Warren Hastings, the first Governor General, and the members of his council. Next drawback was it was also not clear which law, Indian or English law, was to follow. This court had sentenced, that is, the Supreme Court had sentenced to death an ex-Diwan of Murshidabad, Maharaja Nanda Kumar, which was charged with committing forgery. This matter created much sensation in Bengal. Moreover, the control of British government over the company remained weak even after the enactment of the Regulating Act. So with this, I have completed the reasons of passing of the Regulating Act and the drawbacks or the defects, the provisions of the Regulating Act and the drawbacks or defects of Regulating Act. Thank you.